Part 3, gratitude topic. And the subtopic is gratitude within Dharma and within Transcendence. A starting point for this discussion is a nice teaching that I heard many times and long ago and since subsequently from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that says duty and love are on two different platforms. Duty is connected with Dharma and love is connected with transcendence. Performing regulative devotional activity, which we should do, which we are doing and should do, that's Dharma or Sanatana Dharma. And then love or prema is where the regulations are not bringing about the activity as much as the spontaneous attraction for the object of love. And gratitude is appropriate in both places. And we're going to be exploring that topic. A starting point for the discussion is a verse that you have seen before. There's the word kritagya in the Sanskrit. Kritagya is gya, knowing or acknowledging, krita, a favor that's been done, or grateful. What grateful soul is there who would not render his loving service to such a great master as the personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to Him for protection, though the unrighteous man finds it difficult to propitiate Him. Could you get the Bhagavatam off the shelf and the previous verse, 3:19-35? Now, this is Dharma, gratitude in Dharma. And one of the impetuses for surrendering exclusively to the personality of Godhead is to receive His protection. As you see at the bottom, this is Sutta Goswami speaking, and he's speaking to Shaunaka Rishi, amongst the sages at Naimisharanya. And Sutta is appreciating the Lord's protecting Gajendra. So here's the context. Chapter 19 is the personality of Godhead has just killed Hiranyaksha. Lord Varaha has just killed Hiranyaksha. And my computer just went kablooey too. Pardon me. Okay. And Sutta is narrating this to Shaunaka. And after the conclusion of the demise of Hiranyaksha, Sutta speaks. I'm going to read verse 35 that precedes the one that's on the screen. The personality of Godhead delivered the king of the elephants, who was attacked by an alligator and who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying, and the Lord saved them, as well as Gajendra, from the impending danger. And then this verse. So the Lord rescuing the planet Earth by killing Hiranyaksha in a very fantastic way. Then reference is made to the Lord protecting Gajendra. And so having received, you have received something, what do? You feel gratitude, and the gratitude that one recognizes, you may not be Gajendra with a crocodile on your leg, but you may be in some other situation where there's some difficulty. And one who is grateful for the Lord who has rescued Gajendra will certainly take shelter, exclusive shelter, of the Lord for protection in the most difficult of circumstances. Now that's gratitude in a position of Dharma. It's not in the position of spontaneous love. Although in his previous life, Gajendra was a great personality and striving for that, but he had yet to achieve it. And somehow, by the Lord's intervention, he was put in the fast lane. He got there very quickly in a most extraordinary manner. So now comes the main reference for this topic, and that's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Great Acharya. And he put things in, complex things, in such a simple manner. Now sometimes they were pretty complex too, complex things in a complex manner, but many times in a very simple manner, where he is describing in a short essay, gratitude is of four kinds, and it has to do with ignorance, passion, goodness, and transcendence. So let's go through them all four. In ignorance, one may be motivated out of fear to take shelter of and render service to the personality of Godhead, because if I don't, then fill in the blank. I'll go to hell, or I'll have to suffer, or it's the influence of the mode of ignorance may propel somebody to become a worshiper of God. That's the lowest of the positions. And if those of you that are familiar with, we'll do a parallel. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, there's a question at the beginning of the chapter by Devahuti to Kapila Dev about bhakti being pure, yet consciousness may not. So is it possible to be not in pure consciousness and still render bhakti? And he says, sure. And bhakti influenced by one who's implicated in the mode of ignorance looks like this. So serve the Lord when one is in the mode of ignorance. And one of the motivations is, aside from fear, is take revenge against another person, or do harm to another person, or destruction of one kind or another. That's the mode of ignorance. Mode of passion, we're very familiar with. One wants something. One worships the Lord because one wants something. So you go to the Lord because he gives something to those who worship him. And then the third is this position of gratitude. Gratitude, he introduces into this essay, is I have received something, and now it's my duty to give something. And we've been discussing that. For example, this nice description that's found in Ramayana, where the Sanatana Dharma is having received something, you repay that something that you have received. Or another nice example, Queen Kunti understanding. This is the character of an individual is determined or gauged by the gratitude that they carry. They receive something, they repay that something. Out of an act of kindness received, an act of kindness is extended in exchange. Now, that's Dharma. Now, Queen Kunti is not on the platform of worldly Dharma, but in Mahabharata there's teachings of Dharma. And so it's a duty. That's worship of the personality of Godhead out of duty. We've received so much. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yod vidadati kaman. Prabhupada would quote that so often. Since he's maintaining us, we're indebted. Those who are maintaining us, we're indebted. There's this saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You may have heard that one before. You're grateful to that hand that feeds you. Not just be greedy and I want more, but whatever it is that comes, you're grateful. And then the higher platform is this platform of Raga. Raga. Where worship is done simply because there's attraction for the object of worship. Here's, in this little essay, here's a direct quote from his language. Raga is defined as the tendency of the mind to become spontaneously attracted to an object immediately on seeing it without intellectual processing. The intellectual processing includes, like we heard from Kunti, the character of an individual is gauged by gratitude. So the intelligence is guiding the mind. Now, it's not to say she didn't feel some spontaneous attraction to express her gratitude for how nicely they've been cared for. But the indication is there's intellectual processing involved. I plan to show you this slide again during the main Vyasa Puja talk, so let it sink in. There's duty, gratitude out of duty, and there's gratitude or worship where there's attraction, spontaneous attraction. Let's go to the Dharma side further. Dharma of the jiva is the part serves the whole. Anyone that's heard Prabhupada speak understands that one. What's the constitutional position, the sva-dharma of the living entity? And that is, it's the part. And the business of the part, or the proper activity of the part, is to be in service to the whole. If the part is not in service to the whole, it's useless. We've all heard this. Like a screw for a machine. He sometimes would use the example of a typewriter. And if there's a screw missing from an automobile or any machine, and you just see it lying on the street, it's meaningless, it's worthless. But if your machine is dependent upon that screw being in place, it's very valuable to you. The value of the part is its service to the whole. And so the hand is meant to serve the rest of the body. The hand that's disconnected from the body is yucky. But its value is it serves the whole. That's the Dharma of the jiva. It's Jiva Dharma. That's one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books. And one who abides by that principle of Dharma is protected by Dharma. Again, we've heard Prabhupada speak this phrase so many times. Dharmo rakshati rakshataha. When one abides by Dharma, one is protected by Dharma. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur points to those from these lower two ranges, out of fear or out of acquisition, one may worship the Supreme Lord, he expresses they may lead to Raga. And the example he points to is Dhruva, who first worshipped the Lord with a desire for a kingdom, but by sadhana, there appeared in his heart attraction, Raga, born of a pure relationship with the Lord. So the worship helps to establish the relationship. There's the knowledge, sambandha, that there is such a relationship, and acting within that relationship, abhideya, that's the worship. And even if the inspiration for the worship is from the mode of passion, a desire for something, acquisition of something, or even this darker one, I want to get back to at my stepmother, Dhruva's stepmother. And so if it may be arising from the lower modes, but the personality of Godhead relationship being established, that's good. That's good. And it may, and in Dhruva's case it did, the pure relationship with the Lord emerged from that darker place, or passionate and darker place, and he then lost interest in the material acquisition. That was gone because of Raga. We find Srila Prabhupada writing the same. Here it is from a purport from Canto 4, Chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaj knew that he had come to worship the Lord in devotional service with a motive to get the kingdom of his father. Such an adulterated devotee can never see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He therefore felt very grateful for the causeless mercy of the Lord, because the Lord came. Now there's many circumstances surrounding the Lord coming, the external and the internal. But he knew his motive was material, and he knew that a material motivation cannot bring darshan of the Supreme Lord. He knew, and yet he saw the Supreme Lord, and he was feeling this very inspired sense of gratitude, of course, to Narada and the Supreme Lord. Through Narada, the mercy of the Supreme Lord came to him. Now, there was something from his side too, and something from his mother's side too, but he felt very, very strong gratitude to Narada Muni. In fact, one could say, rightly so, that was the force that carried him to the position of unalloyed devotion, his gratitude to Narada Muni. And once that unalloyed devotion was attained, he didn't depart from his sense of gratitude for his mother, because when it came time for him to return to Dhruvaloka, or to go to Dhruvaloka, he didn't want to go without his mother. And the agents of Lord Vishnu pointed out, see that other Vimana back there? That's your mother's Vimana. She's going to the spiritual plane. So we're just exploring Dharma that's within the field of duty. Prahlad had transcendental gratitude to Narada Muni. He spoke to Lord Nrsingadev. Your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Now, there's gratitude and a sense of duty, but it's in the transcendental position. He's speaking from the transcendental position. It's not a worldly sense. I hope the distinction is clear. There's the position of, there's these two words, they have the same root, Sharanagati and Sharanapati. Sharanagati is coming to the position of Sharana, of surrendering. And Sharanapati is one who has attained shelter. They're already there. So Prahlad is already there. He's achieved the transcendental position. And it's not that gratitude now disappears, but gratitude is now in its perfect stage. Now, Lord Nrsingadeva isn't asking him to leave his service. He's just expressing his attachment and his feeling of gratitude. And so when you have that attachment and feeling of gratitude, that's, our the evening class yesterday, the cognizant and affective element, you do something. And that's what Prahlad did. He served. He served Lord Nrsingadeva and he served Narada Muni, exactly as they instructed him, particularly Lord Nrsingadeva instructed Prahlad. And he followed. Again, from a later chapter of the Prahlad narration, I request you to place me in touch with your pure devotee. In this case, he doesn't mention Narada by name, but that's his pure devotee connection with Lord Nrsingadeva. And let me serve him as a sincere servant. Let me serve him as a sincere servant. Now, approaching the Sharanagati includes service, and Sharanapati, or having attained that transcendental position, it includes service. Service because it's the constitutional position of a living entity. So let's now focus more on the gratitude and transcendence. Gratitude and transcendence is where the object that one is feeling gratitude towards, or the person from whom one has received some kindness, and there's a relationship with that personality. There's a spontaneous attraction. That's following Bhaktivinoda Thakur's definition. There's different definitions of raga, by the way, but that's a nice one for our purposes today. And we're going to point out a few examples of gratitude in transcendence, where the attraction, or raga, isn't guided by intelligent considerations, it's just spontaneous. And we're going to start with Krishna's classmate, Sudama Brahman. Sudama Brahman had, we discussed in the humility section prior to this weekend, he had a certain disposition of detachment that was just not out of aversion, but he just liked a life of great simplicity. He liked it. It was happiness for him. However, when his wife was concerned about his well-being, etc., a little reluctantly, but to please his wife, he decided to go. But the real inspiration was, I can be with Krishna again. And that was what was in his heart. Of course, reciprocating with his wife, but being with Krishna again. It's a very beautiful painting. Of course, he's carrying over his shoulder that little cloth bag that has broken rice pieces inside. And Krishna's getting off his throne, coming down the steps, and Rukmini is observing Krishna's affection for Sudama. And in this next painting, it's a very beautiful painting. If you look very closely, you can see tears in the eyes of both. Now, Krishna's doing what a Kshatriya would do for a Brahmana, to receive a Brahmana. And the Brahmana is permitting, although he knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at the same time there's this intimacy of friendship at play, and there's the behavior of two different persons of different varnas, and but the primary feature is their raga. There's tears in Sudama's eyes. They're staring at each other's eyes. Krishna is washing his feet, but he's staring at Sudama's eyes, and tears are in both of their eyes. Very beautiful. And Rukmini is astonished. The other assistants of Rukmini, they're astonished. Who's this person? He's so bedraggled, and look what Krishna is doing, and how do we understand this? Because they're not in that same loving relationship. And another very important part of this exchange, or raga exchange, is when Krishna demanded or snatched from Sudama's hand what he was hiding, that little bag that had the chipped rice, and started eating, and how much loving affection was there, not because of the value of the broken rice, but the love with which Sudama was carrying in Krishna's heart, and therefore accepting this gift, which was reluctantly given because of its poor quality. Krishna was so pleased. Krishna was so pleased. Krishna was so pleased that when Sudama returned back to his cottage, he couldn't find his cottage. He found this giant palace instead. And that simply served to amplify the loving attraction that Sudama felt for Krishna. It wasn't the obstacle that he thought it would be. The obstacle he thought it would be is, if I get something from Krishna, I'll become proud. Pride didn't have any place in his heart. He was protected by that loving attraction. Love itself, raga itself, protects one from material contamination if one has it. And so there may be the cultivation of it by loving service or trying to render regulated devotional service and worship of the personality of Godhead according to Dharma to get to that raga stage. Another nice example, this is a painting of King Mushukunda. The painting shows Mushukunda is much taller than Krishna. And it's not because of age, it has to do with Mushukunda actually lived in a prior yuga. And because of a prior yuga, when he was sleeping in that cave, so much time had passed, and he was fighting with the demigods in the heavenly realm, so much time had passed on earth that his body was so much bigger compared to Krishna's body. And that's why he's shown as being very tall. And he had raga for Krishna. How did he get it? He got it from one who has it. And the one who has it, that from whom he received it, was Garga Muni. The history is that Mushukunda went to the super astrologer Garga Muni and asked him to read his chart. And among other things, Garga Muni said, one day you're going to see the personality of Godhead. And here's what he looked like, and here's his qualities, and here's his nature. And all of that we've heard so many times also went deep into his heart, and he developed a strong desire to see the personality of Godhead and to serve him in all the rest of his life. And with that anticipation, he carried on with his activities. There was an internal raga, attraction for Krishna. However, when he first saw Krishna, he didn't recognize him. And he asked, "Who are you?" "You're effulgent. This cave is all lit up by your effulgence. What kind of personality are you anyway?" When Lord Krishna disclosed the joy and humility, became fully awakened. And he offered beautiful prayers, very, very, very wonderful prayers. Krishna offered him his benedictions. And Krishna indicated, "You have pleased me very much by your devotion. That's why I came here. You wanted my darshan. That's why I came here, because of your pure devotion and your desire. So I came here. And now you may go to the Himalayas and undergo some austerity for some time, because you will take birth again after undergoing atonement for the activities that you did during your lifetime as a Kshatriya of taking the lives of animals while hunting, etc., etc." And so, at least my understanding is he had some service for him, and in your next lifetime, you will become my eternal devotee and return to the spiritual world. So that's what happened to Mushukunda. He finished his life in total absorption in thought of Krishna. It looks like he's chanting the holy name over there. He's somewhere high in the mountains. Absorbed in his spontaneous attraction for Krishna. There are others in Krishna's pastimes. A nice description I like very much of Sudama the florist, because his occupation was selling flowers and making flower garlands. It was important for him to have a source of flowers. So, of course, he most likely had some flower gardens, but in the course of time, because in Brindavan there's many flowers, he was walking about in Brindavan looking for flower sources, and he saw Krishna in a pasturing ground. And he was stunned with the beauty of Krishna. From a distance he saw Krishna. And that was it. He was finished. His material attraction was finished, and his spiritual attraction for Krishna grew and grew and grew. Eventually, when Krishna came to Mathura, he went right to the home of the florist. The florist had garlands waiting for him, because he had heard Krishna had come to Mathura. And just by glancing at the garland on the wall, Krishna said nothing. Sudama knew what Krishna wanted, and he offered this very wonderful garland to Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna volunteered anything he wanted. "You've pleased me very much by your..." So the emphasis here is the spontaneous attraction. And of course, most likely Sudama heard about Krishna, and from a distance he saw Krishna, and he already was situated in this transcendental position and of attraction, Raga. And on the basis of Raga, he was rendering his service and feeling very grateful that Krishna had come to his home and blessed his family. Now he and his family, their lives were made perfect. And he was feeling very strong gratitude in transcendence for Krishna. And there's many nice examples. I'm going to go to one that's a little on the unusual side. And that's the raga that Jagatananda Pandit had for Krishna. He was spontaneously attracted to Lord Chaitanya Prema Vivarta makes it very clear, and he had no inclination to follow social norms and please people by his nice behavior. He was just a spontaneous devotee. This painting is depicting an event where he had spent some time in Navadvip, giving news of Lord Chaitanya to Mother Sachi and the other devotees in Navadvip. And while there, he personally made sandalwood oil. Now, how you make sandalwood oil, I don't know, but by pressing sandalwood oil can be made. And he brought a whole clay pot of sandalwood oil for Lord Chaitanya because he wanted to give it as a gift. That's his heart's desire, out of intense feelings of attraction for Krishna, not exactly the gratitude having received, just love for Krishna, or for Lord Chaitanya, excuse me. And you know the story, he gave that pot of sandalwood oil to Lord Chaitanya's servant and asked him, please give it to Lord Chaitanya, and then kept asking him each day, has he used it, has he used it, has he used it? And Lord Chaitanya respected the love of Jagatananda, but I'm a sannyasi. I can't use this scented oil. Put it in the lamps of the Jagannath temple. It'd be very nice for Lord Jagannath. So Jagatananda came, saw the pot of oil sitting there, and picked it up and smashed it on the ground. And went off pouting because Lord Chaitanya wouldn't accept his gift. Nice story. I mean, his pouting ended up, Lord Chaitanya, he fasted for days, locked his door from the inside, wouldn't let anybody in, pouting. Lord Chaitanya went and knocked on his door. Jaga, I'm hungry. I've heard that you've been fasting, so I've been fasting too, but I'm hungry. Can you please cook for me? Please get up, take your bath, and prepare a meal for me. I'm going to go do my midday duties, and you cook something, and I'll come back. So immediately Jagatananda got up and cooked and made a giant feast for Lord Chaitanya. It's just, this is an example amongst others where service is rendered out of loving attraction for the object. Now, to get there, gratitude and Dharma is a channel. And before the gratitude and Dharma, there may be rendering of service with some other, lower mode of nature operating. But they may also lead to this spontaneous position, as we've heard. And now here's another, one of the chief persons who has transcendental loving attraction for Krishna, Srimati Radharani. Here's a nice quote. Saintly persons have concluded that when a lover, impelled by jealousy and fear, declares that Lord Hari is unworthy of her attachment because of his harshness, lustiness, and dishonesty, such speech is called avajalpa. This is taken from Ujjvala Nilamani by Rupa Goswami, and he's describing this seemingly contrary raga of Radharani. I'm just going to read this little section, and this is it. We're going to end with this. Radharani says, Krishna advertises himself as magnanimous, and he is praised by great saints. His qualifications could be perfectly utilized if he would only show us mercy, for we are downtrodden and neglected by him. You poor messenger, you are only a less intelligent servant. You do not know much about Krishna, how ungrateful and hard-hearted he has been, not only in this life, but in his previous lives also. We have all heard this from our grandmother, Purnamasi. She has informed us that Krishna was born in a Kshatriya family previously to this birth and was known as Ramachandra. In that birth, instead of killing Vali as enemy of his friend in the manner of a Kshatriya, he killed him just like a hunter. A hunter takes a secure hiding place and then kills an animal without facing it. Lord Ramachandra, as a Kshatriya, should have fought with Vali face to face. But instigated by his friend, he killed him from behind a tree. Thus, he deviated from the religious principles of a Kshatriya. Also, he was so attracted by the beauty of Sita that he converted Shurpanakha, the sister of Ravana, into an ugly woman by cutting off her nose and ears. Shurpanakha proposed an intimate relationship with him, and as a Kshatriya, he should have satisfied her. But he was so henpecked that he could not forget Sita Devi and converted Shurpanakha into an ugly woman. Before that birth as a Kshatriya, he took his birth as a Brahmana boy, known as Vamanadev, and also asked charity from Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was so magnanimous that he gave him whatever he had, yet Krishna, as Vamanadev, ungratefully arrested him, just like a crow, and pushed him down to the Patala kingdom. We know all about Krishna and how ungrateful he is. But here's the difficulty. For us to give up talking about him, not only are we unable to give up this talk, but great sages and saintly persons also engage in talking about him. We gopis of Vrindavan do not want to make any more friendship with this blackish boy, but we do not know how we shall be able to give up remembering and talking about his activities. So that's a twist of gratitude and feeling ungrateful. But it's arising from the most exalted of loving attraction. So we don't imitate. We don't start speaking bad things about Krishna like Radharani. Rather, we strive for that position of transcendental gratitude, and we strive for the raga of transcendental gratitude, or in the teaching of Kapila Dev to Devahuti in Canto 3, Chapter 29. Kapila Dev compares devotional service and transcendence in a spontaneous manner to water in the Ganges running downstream during the rainy season. There's no intellectual effort required. Water flows down, and during the rainy season it flows down very swiftly. So the raga, so loving attraction where there's raga, or gratitude where there's raga, is there's no intellectual effort required. One feels grateful to the personality of Godhead. To attain, I want to read one paragraph that is a little solace to those of you that are card-carrying members of I'm Not There Yet. I'm one. and some others are probably in that same category. He writes, fear and desire are extremely base. When a devotee's intelligence becomes clear, that's the Dharma out of gratitude, he gives up fear and desire. Duty or gratitude becomes his sole motive. Motive goodness, Dharma position. And the final paragraph of this little essay. As long as raga towards the Lord does not appear, the devotee should not give up worship according to duty. From the sense of duty, two standards arise: to respect the rules or vidhis and to avoid breaking the rules, nishedha. These rules for worship of the Lord were established by great devotees long ago and recorded in the scriptures. Following the scriptures and reverence for the rules arises from the sense of duty. And as we heard, duty has its connection with gratitude. So now, circling back to our topic, gratitude within Dharma and gratitude within transcendence. Our goal is to come to the transcendental position. And the transcendental position is where guiding the mind to the position of expressing gratitude is not required. And even feeling gratitude is not required, although in Dharma it's required. But how to get there? We do follow the vidhis and nishedhas. Prior to the raga awakening. But we should know that in the line of Lord Chaitanya, the path of raga is the path of love. And the gift of Lord Chaitanya is the gift of love for Krishna. So we follow Dharma. We strive to do our duties according to the codes of the scriptures and with the mood of pleasing Krishna. That's what we're encouraged to do. And there's ample teachings what those codes are and how to awaken that consciousness more deeply. And most important is the ragatmika devotees, or the raganuga bhakti, is follow in the footsteps of those who have raga and try to associate with those that have a natural attraction. A natural attraction for Krishna. And until that natural attraction for Krishna awakens, we do our activities according to the codes of Dharma with a sense of duty or driven by gratitude for the kindnesses that we have received. So that's our topic for this morning. And again, it's 15 minutes into our time together. So they'll open the floor to see if there's some discussion. I don't know how all of you feel, just a comment. Without deities and kirtan and prasadam and sadhu sangha, it's the best we can do given the circumstances, but how much, by being deprived of that by circumstance, how much more we will appreciate it when we have it. So let's see, Komati, you have something in line here?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes. The first question is from Amrita Kali Mataji, who's asking, Maharaj, I'm feeling very happy and grateful to begin this special day and New Year hearing you. How merciful is Krishna to give us this opportunity in spite of all the challenging circumstances? I'm also feeling very grateful to you for taking the austerity of speaking to just the camera and video screen out of your causeless love for all of us. Every time I hear Jagatananda's pastime, it is very bewildering for me. I am thinking of the qualities of pure devotees that Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, equipoised or no anger. Do we understand that the devotees continue to have... Oh, sorry, Marge. Do we understand that the devotees continue to have their nature even when they're in the prema stage, and those qualities, anger or any other, may become transcendental?
Yeah. Yes. Jagatananda is a puzzle for worldly people. Jagatananda is a delight for those that are transcendentalists. During the discussion on the six Goswamis, for example, there was this description of Sanatan Goswami's exchange with Jagatananda in Brindavan. Jagatananda, along with going to Mayapur or Navadvip, would sometimes go to Brindavan, and when there he stayed with Sanatan Goswami. And when he saw Sanatan Goswami wearing a nice turban, he asked, where did he get the cloth? And innocently, Sanatan Goswami said it was a gift from so-and-so sannyasi. And when Jagatananda heard that, he was in the midst of cooking, and in his spontaneous love, he picked up a cooking pot and was going to smash Sanatan Goswami in the head with his cooking pot. How can you do this? You're such an exalted devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and you're wearing a cloth that didn't come from him. How can you do this? This is horrible. And then he caught himself. He just flew into a rage because of the particular type of love that he had. Now, your question, does this become transcendental for such persons? Yes, because that's the place from which they're acting. Transcendental love. It doesn't know boundaries. Especially for people like Jagatananda. Now, many other people would never do like that. They might say something, but not grab a cooking pot ready to smash somebody. But that's Jagatananda. Next.
Sorry, Marge. The next question is from Radha Kunjabihari Prabhu, who asks, of the 16,108 palaces in Dwarka, how was Sudama able to locate the palace of Krishna and Rukmini? Was there a specific reason for Sudama to choose the residence of Mother Rukmini?
There's no indication. He didn't have a GPS. And, what was the guide for him to go there? There's no indication. Rukmini has a very special position in Dwarka as the original wife or queen of Krishna. So, Super Soul guided him there, perhaps. We have no indication why and how. Next.
Thank you, Marsh. The next question is from Sweta Mataji, who asks, for me, there is an intellectual effort that is required from my side to stay attentive and focused.
Good.
And be in the attitude of gratitude. How do I orient my sense of duty and effort towards loving service without condemning my current limitations?
Oh, you don't condemn your current limitations at all. That you're making a conscious directing the mind and senses towards Krishna effort, fantastic. That's Vidhi Bhakti. Fantastic. Fantastic. And with faith that by that process, cleansing and through the association of those who have spontaneous attraction, or hearing about and remembering and glorifying those who do, that spontaneous attraction will awaken along with the purification of what you're now doing. But if you're regularly guiding with intelligence your mind and senses in those ways, fantastic. Next.
Thank you, Raj. The next question is from Atulya Mataji, who asks, how to transform material gratitude towards our parents into spiritual gratitude?
Well, see, your service to Krishna at the center. Krishna has given, just as Krishna has awarded your parents, you as their child, Krishna has awarded you, these parents, as your parents, and see Krishna at the center. And, respecting who they are and what their values and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But see how you can be in service to Krishna while you're doing that service to them. This is this holistic picture of life that we discussed yesterday. It's an important part of your service to Krishna. And without being pushy or this or that, you want to be a good daughter to your parents that reminds them of Krishna. So how can you best do that? And you keep that question in the foreground, you're heading in the right direction. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Varshana Mataji, who's asking, the pastime of Mushukunda is very intriguing for me. He seems to have heard that he will see Krishna first, and then his attraction to see Krishna springs in his heart.
Yes.
While for us, our attraction needs to be developed first, and then maybe we will see Krishna. I guess the question is, how can astrology say we can see Krishna?
How can what?
Astrology.
How can astrology
say that we can see Krishna?
Oh. Nice question. Now, an ordinary astrologer wouldn't be able to do that. That's for sure. But I guess we could understand that Gargamuni is not an ordinary astrologer, and he could see things that ordinary astrologers can't see. If you get a chance to meet Gargamuni, you could ask him that question. Go ahead. Next.
The next question, Maharaj, is from Rupa Vilas Prabhu, who says, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:16, 4 types of people approach Krishna. Are they respectively in ignorance, passion, goodness, and transcendence?
No. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Shriya Mataji, who asks, in Mushukunda's case, he had to undergo atonement for another life to reach the Lord, whereas in Dhruva Maharaj's case, the Lord blessed him immediately with causeless mercy. So, in gratitude under passion, is atonement not necessary?
No, my understanding of the distinction, why, for example, why Mushukunda didn't get what one might call full mercy, while others did get what might call full mercy. As he got full mercy, however, there was, my understanding is as follows. There was some service that Krishna wanted from Mushukunda, and so he was, placing him in a position where he could receive that service from him, either in this or the next life. We don't hear what happens after he goes to the Himalayas and does what he does, other than what Krishna said. In his next life, he'll be born as a Brahmana, and he'll achieve love of God and go back to Godhead. But he was already situated in love of God. So my understanding, it's not from acharyas, it's just Krishna had a purpose, and that purpose is loving service. He's got a qualified devotee. Some service for him was awaiting. So it's not that mercy is you right away go back to Godhead and you don't have some other service in some worldly place. It may be, but like Dhruva didn't right away go back to Godhead. He ruled for a long, long time in the material world. It wasn't, being in the material world isn't fun, but it was service. And so he stayed. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Amalatmana Prabhu, who asks, it looks like gratitude grows with progress in bhakti. Like Vaidhi to Ragatmika and parallel to Dharma to Raga.
Yes.
Unless Raga develops, gratitude does not reach perfection.
Right.
Is it possible for practicing devotees to still have transcendental gratitude without reaching the Raga platform in bhakti?
Well, transcendental gratitude is in degrees, and Raga is also in degrees. So it's not like there's this bucket and then over there's that bucket. It's not quite like that. It's in degrees. So the answer is yes. Next.
He also asks, is it possible for those not in bhakti to get transcendental gratitude?
Those not in bhakti, for whom would they have gratitude? As soon as there's gratitude, then you're in the realm of bhakti. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Prakash Prabhu, who asks, before all anarthas are removed from one's heart, one can only have gratitude in goodness, passion, or ignorance. Is that correct?
Say it again.
Before all anarthas are removed from one's heart, one can only have gratitude in goodness, passion, or ignorance.
Well, this question is similar to the previous question. There can be degrees of transcendental gratitude. Naturally, there are. Let's take any one of us. And let's say our gratitude towards our founder Acharya. Any one of us, that some of that is there. And it's not just in the modes. So it's proportionate, or there's a spectrum or a range of transcendental gratitude within our lives, even at present. Next.
The second part of the question, Maharaj, was, at which of the 9 stages of bhakti can one experience gratitude and transcendence?
The same answer. Even in the beginning stages. Next.
The next question is from Uttama Bhakta Prabhu. Referring to gratitude in Dharma and Raga, we can say that gratitude in Dharma is I have to, whereas gratitude in Raga progressively is I want to, I love to, and finally, I will die without it. Is this correct?
Yes, very nice. Very nice. And if you go even further than I'll die without it, you go to where the gopis are. They can't, they want to stop, but they can't. That's a transcendental, beyond I'll die without it. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Krishna Priya Mataji, who asks, hearing the different pastimes of gratitude and transcendence makes me wonder if gratitude has various flavors, like various sorry?
Yes, yeah, they have different flavors. I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
Just like various rasas. Or is gratitude more of a fundamental and instinctual expression from the spiritual platform, just like acting from heart and mood of humble service?
Well, those aren't necessarily contradictory, options. There's variety, and it arises from the heart, and it has different flavors. And even in some individual's life, who is on the platform of transcendence. I mean, Jagatananda didn't always just go around smashing pots of sandalwood oil. Jagatananda did, different things, different moods and feelings at different times. And the others, the gopis, sometimes and sometimes. The cowherd boys, sometimes and sometimes. Mother Jasoda, sometimes and sometimes. So they're not contradictory statements or mutually exclusive. If it's this, it can't be that. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Shubhra Mataji, who asks, how does one purify one's motivation for service and bring it to the platform of gratitude as the prime motivation?
How? By the guidance of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, one can introspect and see the degree to which there's a mix and the degree to which there's purity, and strive to strengthen the purity and strive to overcome the mix. I'm going to be speaking, Shubhra, you pay attention to the main talk. I'm going to be speaking about this specifically in relation to chanting of japa and some nice teaching of Bhakti Siddhanta about, it's a gradual, the how-to is it's gradual. We take up the purification process. Just take the chanting of the holy name. It's a purification process. And we take it up, and it's gradual. Gradually, the material covering and material motivations and other stuff subside as the pleasure of Krishna motivation and contemplation increases. You can say as the raga increases, the other decreases. But it happens gradually. And somewhat intermittent, sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes more, sometimes less, in the unsteady stage, but gradually moving in the direction of pure. So pay attention to this afternoon's, the 10:15 class. How are we doing? How many more questions?
So far, just one more, Maharaj.
Okay.
This next question is from Varshana Mataji, who's asking, I heard that Mushukunda in his next life was the Brahmana who served Lord Vittala. Have you heard of that, Guru Maharaj?
No, I have not. You might go back to the source that you heard from and see if they have some confirmation of that understanding. So if we're done, that's fantastic. And we'll see you again a little bit later this morning. Hare Krishna. Yasodanandana, take it away. You got to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
You have to unmute him. Okay. There we go.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for the lead up for today with that really beautiful class. I just want to invite everybody to please come back on Zoom by 10:05. That's in Central Standard Time, Chicago time, where we will begin the formal Vyasa Puja ceremony. And the detailed schedule is posted online at the link that everyone should have. But it will continue, and also an invitation if you would like to read your offerings via Zoom to please send a message. And we'll see you all very soon. Hare Krishna.